Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Hello, art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss Sam, and I'm back with yet another video. Today, we have serious business to discuss. I just made the Understanding the Shining Part 18 last night, and I'm coming back with another Kubrickology video, another Shining related video, and also partially 2001, A Space Odyssey. I wanted to talk about something that I became aware of recently, and I've got them queued up over here in my other tabs. They have to do with the unearthing of what the title of this video says. Stanley Kubrick explains the ending of 2001 and The Shining. And so this is the longer version, 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And I've got the shorter version where he just talks about the ending of The Shining, and I've got the transcript over here open so I can read it to you. With this one, the transcript is a little choppy, so I had to find an alternative source, which I'll be reading to you. But I wanted to talk about this very, very much because it's important. In my opinion, it's important. And, I hope you enjoyed Part 18. I just felt like, those 3 minutes didn't give me a lot to work with as far as analysis or whatever. I might have missed something. I don't know. But, it is what it is. I did what I could. Part 19, I don't know when I'll be coming back with Part 19. Hopefully in the not too distant future. But we shall see. So let me do my church announcements and get those out the way so we can get into what we're here to get into. Returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. And subscribers, thank you so very, very much for subscribing. I appreciate it a lot. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos if you like them, and if you know somebody who might possibly be interested in listening to any of what I have to say. And that's that. But like I said, I became aware of these videos where Stanley Kubrick explains the ending of 2001 and The Shining. And I will leave both of these in the description if you want to watch them for yourself and listen to them, because this transcript is caca, pure caca. It skips over so much of it and whatever. That's why I couldn't really rely on it for reading it to you. But I hope you're intrigued at this point. I really do. There are people who throw this up and say, well, that's that. Stanley Kubrick explained it. And there's nothing more to talk about. Now, is there? Okay. Now I also, I'm sure that there are people who have been aware of these interviews for a while. I just found out about them. These are interviews on the phone, with this, I think, Japanese producer person, and he just flat out asks Stanley Kubrick about the ending of both of those movies, 2001 and The Shining. And I don't know. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you, because this was filmed in 1980, so I can't tell you whether or not Stanley knew he was being recorded. I don't know. And if he did know, that's fine. If he didn't know, that's another story. But you probably can figure out why I'm bringing that up. But this guy just flat out asks him, and again, people point to this as the solution of the puzzle for both 2001 and The Shining. The mystery is solved, right? He said what he had to say, and that's that. Not so fast. Not so fast. There's more going on here. then meets the eye. And again, like I said, this is probably why a lot of people have been talking about reincarnation with regard specifically to The Shining, in sources that I've looked at. And I've seen people mention that idea, the reincarnation idea, as far as The Shining is concerned. And you know, that black and white photo, 1921 photo featuring Jack Torrance at the end of the movie, that has to do with reincarnation. At least now I know that their ideas are not original. They got it straight from the horse's mouth. They got it from Stanley. And again, most people hear that and they say, "Yep, end of story." I don't think so. But anyway, so I'll leave this in the description, this first one. Stanley Kubrick explains the ending of 2001 and The Shining, and I'll leave this also. Stanley Kubrick explains the ending of The Shining. So you can listen to it for yourself. I'm not going to play it here because I want to give these people their props for putting this online, putting this on YouTube. But let me read you the words. I can't talk very well right now. I've been making too many videos lately. But let me read this to you. This is from thefilmstage.com, and this is a lost Stanley Kubrick script and the director's explanation of 2001, A Space Odyssey ending uncovered. This is from 2018. So nearly 2 decades after his death, Stanley Kubrick is still making headlines, with the 50th anniversary re-release of 2001, A Space Odyssey currently earning over $1.2 million in just a handful of theaters. It's clear that the works of the director certainly earned the label of visionary, and now another project that came from his mind might see the light of day. Are they talking about Napoleon? I don't know, but I'm not going to read through it to find out. Now, this comes from this larger video, The Shining Unseen Interviews with Stanley Kubrick and Vivian Kubrick from 1980. And in this one, it says here, the entire 90-minute video is a treasure trove of footage featuring a tour of Kubrick's offices and more. But one particular section will excite Kubrick fans. Junichi Yaoi gets on the phone with Kubrick, who goes on to explain the ending of his sci-fi masterpiece 2001, A Space Odyssey, something he never discussed in the press. Check out Screen Crush's transcription below. Okay. And before I get started reading this, I haven't researched any of this yet. I just found this article with the transcript. I'm just going to do this on the fly and interject the text with my commentary and my observations and my perception and whatever. So now that I got that out the way, let's get into it. Okay, here it is. This is Stanley talking. I've tried to avoid doing this ever since the picture came out. He's talking about 2001. When you just say the ideas, they sound foolish. Whereas, if they're dramatized, one feels it. But I'll try. The idea was supposed to be that he is taken by god-like entities, creatures of pure energy and intelligence with no shape or form. They put him in what I suppose you could describe as a human zoo to study him, and his whole life passes from that point on in that room. And he has no sense of time. It just seems to happen as it does in the film. They choose this room, which is a very inaccurate replica of French architecture, deliberately so inaccurate, because one was suggesting that they had some idea of something that he might think was pretty, but wasn't quite sure. Just as we're not quite sure what do in zoos with animals to try to give them what they think is their natural environment. Anyway, when they get finished with him, as happens in so many myths of all cultures in the world, he is transformed into some kind of super being and sent back to Earth, transformed and made some kind of Superman. We have only to guess what happens when he goes back. It is the pattern of a great deal of mythology, and that is what we were trying to suggest. Okay. And that's it. Okay, that's it. Now, people read this or hear this, and they say, okay, mystery solved. That's it. That's what the ending means. Long pause. Long pause. No. That's not. It's not mystery solved. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. And I'm not saying that Stanley Kubrick was like lying to the person he was talking to, this Junichi Yaoi person. No, I don't think he was lying to that person. I'm sure he was being sincere and, forthright and what have you. But that still isn't the whole story. Okay, so, the guy in 2001, obviously, he gets captured by what Stanley in this interview calls godlike entities, creatures of pure energy and intelligence, okay, with no shape or form. So these creatures of pure energy and intelligence have transcended having any kind of corporeal form. And they put him in what he says, what I suppose you could describe as a human zoo to study him. And his whole life passes from that point on in that room. What did I do a video about recently? This is my recent video 2 days ago. It says Lolita by Stanley Kubrick, film analysis, The Apes. Check it out. I might put that in the description too. Why not shout out myself too? With that article that I got from Italopolis. Oh God, I still can't pronounce it. Italopolis Press. It's the link is in the description of this video, where she talks about, Stanley doing photography in the zoo from the perspective of an ape in a cage at the zoo, and what that ape sees, the bars and the people gathering around and looking at it. And Stanley got his camera and put himself in the position of that caged ape in the zoo. And now reading this. Stanley was working on this for a long time. He's been turning these ideas over and over in his head for possibly the most of his life. Okay, and anyway, they put him in what I suppose you could describe as a human zoo to study him, and he has no sense of time. His whole life passes. And they, I guess, the beings, the godlike entities, they choose this room, which is a very inaccurate replica of French architecture. Okay, because that's what happens in zoos. They put, this what Stanley says, and I think he's right, they put these animals in cages that they believe, or in environments, they try to make a reasonable facsimile of that animal's natural environment so the animal will be happy or comfortable. No, they're not going to be happy or comfortable. There's something very cruel about putting animals in enclosures in zoos. They're not living their best life. Let's just put it that way. Maybe they've got plenty of food or whatever, but that's not where they belong. They're not happy there. And he says they choose this room. I'll just call them the aliens, right? It's an inaccurate replica of French architecture, deliberately so inaccurate, because one was suggesting that they had some idea of something that he might think was pretty, but wasn't quite sure. And before I show you the slides of what I found very quickly, of that room from the movie, you know what this reminds me of? What he said here? I'll read it again. They choose this room, which is a very inaccurate replica of French architecture, deliberately so inaccurate because one was suggesting that they had some idea of something that he might think was pretty, but wasn't quite sure. Okay, there's an episode of The Twilight Zone. Actually, let me look it up really quick and just show you. It probably has a Wikipedia page, so hold on. Okay, you guys, I found it. Elegy. Elegy. This is episode 20 of the American television anthology series, The Twilight Zone. It originally aired on February 19th, 1960 on CBS. The episode was based on a short story by Charles Beaumont, published in the February 1953 issue of Imagination Stories of Science and Fantasy. Okay? And this is the opening narration. I'll leave this in the description too. Now, it is in September 2185, while on a routine geological mission, astronauts Myers, Webber, and Kirby land their spaceship on a remote asteroid 655 million miles away from Earth after running low on fuel. Okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing because I don't want to get into it. But it turns out that this this asteroid is actually a cemetery, and it's where people are sent, human beings are sent, and they're basically taxidermied, and they're put in environments that they would have liked to live in, or things they would have liked to have done while they were alive on Earth. One example is like a kind of homely girl who's taxidermied and put in a scene where she's the winner of a beauty pageant. And stuff like that. And then there's, the room that the guy who runs the asteroid, he's an android himself who runs the asteroid. His name is Jeremy Wickwire. And I think the room where he gives them the wine, this Wickwire person describes the room that they're in, and he said this is basically the pinnacle of comfort and luxury in human can't think right now. Human history, development, evolution. This room with this furniture and this kind of setting in this. I think it was like a Victorian house or something like that, and like Victorian furniture and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, you're gonna have to watch this episode, find it and watch it to see what I'm talking about. And he says, aren't you comfortable here? Isn't this what human beings like? And that's what I was reminded of when I read this part of what Stanley said. They choose this room, which is a very inaccurate replica of French architecture, deliberately so inaccurate, because one was suggesting that they had some idea of something that he might think was pretty, but wasn't quite sure. Okay? So that immediately made me think of this Twilight Zone episode, The Elegy. So check it out, look it up. So the aliens, they think they know what we like. They think that a human being from planet Earth would, of course, like this. Okay, this is a still from the movie. In that weird room. They call it the weird room, and this is him with the monolith in front of him once again. And it's got a bed. It's got several chairs. Which don't really make sense. These aliens don't seem to understand that chairs are for sitting in. And one person only basically needs one chair. But there's that, and then there's this angle of the room too. He's got a writing desk. He's got another chair. This is, I guess, where he takes his meals. This table, the bed, the nightstands, those sconces that we keep seeing in all these Kubrick movies. These paintings on the wall, which I cannot make out. Are they Da Vinci paintings? Are they something else? I'll have to take a better look. And this furniture here, this interesting furniture. And here's another one. I don't know if this is the real thing or a replica, but I think it's a production photograph or something. Look at this. And there's light. Where's the light coming from in this room? From the flow. I mean, maybe they took this from discos, or I don't know, like what inspired this flow. But and the color is very bland. There's not a lot of color, except maybe this kind of muted, army green. And then I think I have one more. This. And these things in the niches in the walls, if I'm not mistaken, with my understanding of art history, which I'm not an expert, but I do know a thing or two. But I could still be wrong. It doesn't mean I'm right about everything. These look like Lares figures, Lares figures, and they were basically protection figures from ancient Rome. They were dedicated to home and hearth and fertility and a bountiful harvest and things like that. And they were prayed to by Roman citizens, and some of them would guard the entrance into a place where people lived, whether it was a town or a personal residence or whatever. Ooh, very weird. Very weird. And if you need a little bit more context, I don't know if you've ever heard of the band, Susie and the Banshees, and they have that song called Cities in Dust, and she mentions Laris shrines in that song. So this is what they would possibly have looked like. Or maybe this is a neoclassical reproduction or replica of what a Laris shrine would look like. Because I'm looking at the furnishings in this room from 2001, and all I can think of is neoclassicism. I thought at first I thought, oh, this is Rococo, and then I thought, no, this is a little too sensible for Rococo. So no, this is probably neoclassicism. To our eyes was ornate, but compared to Rococo, this is very tame, very very tame. So that's why I'm thinking neoclassicism, and neoclassicism is exactly what it sounds like, the new classicism. Um, and this was going on at the very end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century during the Napoleonic times. Yeah, that's when neoclassicism was going on, and the founding of the United States, in the late 1700s. And this had to do with order, logic, reason. It was during the Age of Enlightenment that we got our neoclassicism. That's when archaeology, as we know it, kind of got started with Johann Joachim, I think, Winkelmann. I think that's who it was. And writing about, he was an art historian, and I think possibly also an archaeologist. And at that time, they had just uncovered Pompeii, so there was this renewed interest in Greco-Roman art, architecture, and so on and so forth. And here comes neoclassicism as a kind of reaction to the over-the-top, ornate quality of Rococo. But this is still pretty like swank. Don't get it twisted. This is still pretty swank. But this is the room that Stanley calls them the aliens, the godlike entities that have no shape or anything. What did he call them? No shape or form. No shape or form. Pure energy and intelligence. Pure energy and intelligence. And he's saying, they put him in this room. Pure energy and intelligence got it wrong. Most human beings. Okay, maybe I could just speak for one human being. Me. I don't think I would enjoy this room, or living out the rest of my days in this room. Good heavens! And you know what? The creatures of pure energy and intelligence, with no shape or form. You know what they forgot to put in this room that they think should be enjoyed by human beings? They forgot one very important thing. Mirrors. There's nothing quite as crazy making as not being able to see an image of yourself, at least every now and again. Okay, that's what human beings like to look at the most. Themselves. Whether it's in mirrors or in photograph form or in picture form, we just love looking at ourselves. We are a very vain and narcissistic species, I must say. We are. Just look at all those ads for cosmetics and plastic surgery and teeth whitening and all the shit. Yeah, we're very vain. We're very egotistical and narcissistic. We like, literally narcissistic. We like looking at ourselves. And that's missing from these rooms, in the world of Kubrickology, designed by these entities. pure energy and the pure energy and intelligence got it wrong. They put him in a zoo, just like the AP took a picture of in the 1940s and whatever, for whatever magazine he was looking for. And then, he says, we're not quite sure what to do in zoos with animals to try to give them what we think is their natural environment. And he gets reincarnated, I guess, right? They get finished with him. I guess they're studying him. So the pure energy and intelligence beings, they know everything, but they don't know. They know how to produce a room like this out of thin air, I guess, but they still don't know everything they want to know about human beings. That's why they have to put him under observation and study for the rest of his life. And he gets sent back to Earth, transformed and made some kind of Superman. Interesting. And we only have to guess what happens when he goes back. It is the pattern of a great deal of mythology, and that is what we were trying to suggest. Now, this doesn't mean that he supports this, by the way, just because he seems to be very well versed in mythology and mythological stories, and the idea of reincarnation. And he obviously has a pretty good handle on an inaccurate version of French architecture or French decor from the neoclassical period. Doesn't mean he agrees with any of it. Okay? Is this a criticism of zoos? Or of making people live like they're animals in a zoo? Is this a criticism of neoclassicism, Rococo, whatever? This kind, I've been saying in my videos lately, is this a criticism of art itself? I don't know. I think so. I think possibly. Is this a criticism of mythology itself? Because, like I keep saying, mythology might be, maybe not the problem, but definitely a problem, because it's been shaping human behavior since its invention. And maybe Stanley is criticizing that somehow. And then later, when he talks about The Shining, the ending of The Shining, he talks about reincarnation. I'll get to that in a minute. Got to take a little coffee break first. I've got some laundry boiling away in the wash machine. So I'll be right back after my own little coffee break. So when we talk about reincarnation and the Jack Torrance figure in the 1921 photo. So just don't go nowhere. I hope you got yourself some coffee too. This would be a good time. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Okay, you all. All right. I'm adjusting in my chair. Anyway, let's get to the part of the thing where Stanley talks about The Shining, and that's the more specific one is from this thing. I think it's a short, so let's look at it. What does he say in response to what was the ending of The Shining about? Here it is. I'll read this. It's over here on the right-hand side of the screen. And again, I'll link to this video and you can read it for yourself. What does he say? He says, well, it was supposed to suggest a kind of evil reincarnation cycle where he is part of the hotel's history, just as in the men's room where he's talking to the former caretaker ghost of the former caretaker who says to him, you are the caretaker. I should know I've always been here. One is merely nothing, kind of an endless cycle of this evil reincarnation, and that's it again. It's that sort of thing that I think is less explained, but I think he says, since you asked me, I'm trying to explain. Okay, so this is possibly where everybody gets their idea that, the ghost of the former caretaker, there it says right on the screen too. This is where everybody gets the idea that the picture at the end of the movie is the, I guess, 1921 version of Jack Torrance in the Overlook Hotel in The Shining? And, that kind of same idea is there for 2001, A Space Odyssey. So, my question is, okay, if that's what's going on, if we've got this idea of reincarnation going on, and he says it suggests reincarnation, an evil reincarnation cycle. It suggests that. Okay. And I think this is what he's talking about, because apparently the character in this movie, he gets sent back to Earth as a superhuman being. Okay. Now, he says it suggests reincarnation, an evil kind of reincarnation. Again, as far as I know, Stanley Kubrick was an atheist. But, and reincarnation is a very religious idea. Certain religions. Okay. Does that mean he believes in it? Apparently no. Apparently he didn't believe in it. But if he made it a part of both this movie, 2001, and The Shining, and it's a suggestion of something like that, a suggestion of evil reincarnation, what does that mean? What does that mean? So the 1921 photo is Jack from the 1920s, and the version of Jack we see in the movie is the modern day, or at the time, the modern day, late 1970s version of Jack. That's just not how reincarnation works. You don't get reincarnated looking the same and, acting the same. Absolutely not. But it seems to, at least in 2001, according to this portion of his explanation, it's controlled by the godlike entities, creatures of pure energy and intelligence with no shape or form. Okay. He doesn't say God, he says godlike. That's a big difference. This is not easy to understand. Like I said, people think that, oh yeah, the mystery solved. Since he said this. No, absolutely not. This just makes it more complicated. A suggestion of an evil reincarnation cycle. So, if it's a suggestion of an evil reincarnation cycle, that also suggests that the people or the entities, the godlike entities, creatures of pure energy and intelligence with no shape or form, it suggests that they're also evil. That they're evil too, right? So that would suggest that they're just messing with people. They're just messing with Jack Torrance. They're just messing with what's-his-face in 2001. And they're in 2001. They're using this monolith thing as a tool through which to mess with human beings who might or might not deserve to be messed with. We're not entirely sure. And again, the monolith, I can't say that I know exactly what it's made of in the movie 2001, but something's telling me. I did a video about it down here somewhere. Good Lord, where is it? Here comes the monolith. Yeah, there it is. And maybe I read it somewhere, or whatever, but I'm not at this time. I don't remember, or I'm not sure, or I have no idea what material this monolith thing is made out of. I'm assuming stone. I'm assuming possibly a very hard black stone, which, from what I understand, would be diorite. Not granite, no, diorite. Diorite is much harder than granite, and diorite is spelled D-I-O-R-I-T-E. R-I-T-E, diorite. Okay. And why, if this is made of stone, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, I can't find what material the monolith is made of, so I'm going to go ahead and assume stone. Okay, and if it is made of stone, that would make sense because the ancient cultures built all the stuff that still survives from those ancient cultures. It survived because it was made of stone, whether it's buildings, sculptures, or what have you. Especially something like diorite, like a Ka statue in ancient Egypt. Many of them would have been made of diorite, and it was considered the highest quality, strongest stone that they could use to make a sculpture of, usually of the pharaoh, right? So, is he saying something with that? If it's a stone thing, is he saying something about stone? And this thing is a machine. It's not just like a chalkboard or whatever. Although, now that I said that, makes me think. But they don't use those in schools anymore, by the way. No more chalkboards, which is kind of sad, but whatever. It's some kind of device that the aliens, the entities, the pure energy and intelligence and shapeless and formless entities, and like I said, it's implied that they're evil entities if they're doing this kind of stuff. They're using these monoliths to do whatever it is that they want to do in whatever context or whatever, to, in the case of 2001, to this character here. I think his name is Bowman. Okay. They're manipulating his life and his world and his existence, his experiences through this. And they did that with the apes. Don't forget to watch my video, Lolita by Stanley Kubrick film analysis, The Apes. The apes at the beginning of 2001, their world changes after the monolith appears. They learn how to make weapons. They learn how to, kill better. Thanks. So this monolith and whatever entities that control it are evil. Okay. So what is Stanley saying? And again with the Jack Torrance thing, you know, they put it here, right? This black and white picture. If this is the result of some kind of evil reincarnation, why? Like, why? Why would they do that? Why would they go to the trouble? So Stanley's explanation isn't really an explanation. And even, whether or not he knew he was being recorded and he knew that would be put on film or whatever when he was giving his answer, that's, I guess, not important anymore. But, the answer he gave doesn't explain it. It doesn't explain, it doesn't solve any mystery. It doesn't solve any puzzle. It's not the end of the discussion. And I'll go ahead and take his word for it, because this is Stanley Kubrick who said this. It wasn't somebody interpreting Stanley Kubrick's work, or a friend of his, or an associate of his. No, it was the man himself who said this. A kind of evil reincarnation. Endless cycle of evil reincarnation. And he mentions, in the context of 2001, he said, as happens in so many myths, so many myths of all cultures in the world, the character in 2001 is transformed into some kind of super being. And again, he's talking about mythology, religion, which I still believe, he's very, very strongly criticizing. He's just doing it in his own very unique and very original way of using the monolith, or using this black and white photo in The Shining. Why reincarnation? And why evil reincarnation? Why not a good one? He's suggesting, Stanley Kubrick is suggesting that if entities like the ones he's described exist, God-like entities, that they're not really, they don't care about our pain or suffering. All they care about is learning about human beings. And if if human beings were so insignificant to these, fictional godlike entities, then why would they be messing with us if we weren't important? Just like the mythology that he mentions when he's talking about 2001 and the ending of 2001. In mythology, the gods mess with people. The gods mess with stuff that ends up having seriously bad consequences for mortal people. Why they do that? Why can't they just leave us alone? Like I said, I still believe that Stanley Kubrick is criticizing religion, mythology, history, culture, and art itself. He's saying there is something wrong with it. That's why he chooses the furniture that he chooses for this room. That's why he chooses the monolith and it's this black rectangle is being used as a machine of some kind by these what seems to me evil godlike entities that are hurting people and putting them into endless cycles of evil reincarnation. Now, does Stanley really believe that? I don't think so. But he's making, again, I think, a commentary about art itself. There's something wrong with it. We need to examine it, re-examine it, figure out why it's been used so many times throughout history, again and again and again. It continues to this day to be used in order to manipulate human beings and get us to agree to do stuff that we maybe otherwise never would. Okay? All right, so yeah, this is not an ending. This is a beginning. His responses to this guy's question. Oh, I hope I said something. Ooh, I hope I said something. I don't know. I needed to address this. I needed to get this off my chest. So you guys, I hope I said so. Again, once again, thank you again for that beautiful comment, Richland Law. I do hope I said something. I just found this, and I've just been kind of wrestling with it for the past maybe day or two mentally. I don't know if I've come to any like really good conclusion or any conclusion whatsoever, but this intrigues me. Stanley, he instead of like really answering this guy's question, he just actually added more questions to this guy's question. Of course, would we ever expect anything less? So that's that for now. Like I said, I'll put both of these and this article, and even even the link to this Wikipedia article for this episode of the Twilight Zone. Now I'm convinced that for 2001 that Stanley was citing this episode of the Twilight Zone elegy. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Go ahead and hunt it down, or if you've got like some app or streaming service where you can watch it, go ahead and watch it. As it says here, season 1, episode 20. Watch it, and you'll see what I mean. When I was a little girl and I watched this, of course it did a number on my mind, but as an adult, it still does a number on my mind, but in a different way. And like I said, I need to get into it and like start reviewing episodes of the Twilight Zone, because that is a classic that will always be relevant. So anyway, you all, I think I've said all I can say in this video today, right here and right now. It's not going to be an hour long, hooray. So let me know what you all think. This is plenty of stuff to think about. Let me know what you all think in the comments. I can't wait to read your comments. I love reading your comments. Again, I might do another viewer mail. The next video I do after this one will be Unit 1 of our informal little art history class. It's a survey art history course, Art History 101. We're going to start with the Stone Age. Okay, I think very fittingly, right? So, you guys, yeah, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed part 18. I hope you enjoyed the food videos. I hope you enjoyed the Lolita videos. There's more coming. I've been on a roll lately. I don't know if I'll be able to stop. When I was you know, having my little freak out, I was thinking about some shit, and I guess now I'm expressing all the stuff that I was thinking about for during my absence, during my vacation. So you guys, that's it for now. I'm pretty much done talking. So let me reiterate the church announcements. Returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being no. Returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. Subscribers, thank you for subscribing. All of you, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the videos if you know anybody who might enjoy this. And that's about it. So until the next time, when I find yet another reason to talk at you in one of these videos, I'm going to go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.